Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the session 318, Integrating Biodiversity in Supply Chains. Thank you very much for coming. If you're supposed to have a card, a listening card, if you're sitting in the back and you don't have it, please come forward and Gillian will give you one. And so we are having a very busy session. I will give a very quick introduction and then let Gillian explain how the session will be organized. But I just wanted to quickly explain why we're talking about biodiversity in supply chains. The issue of supply chains, I think we all agree that is very important. I mean, most of us talk about indirect impacts, but now even we put the word indirect doesn't mean that they're insignificant and not important. We all agree now that managing indirect impacts, or what they call scope 3, is an absolute requirement for management and reporting. So the issue we wanted to discuss today is not if scope 3 or supply chains need to be managed, is how. And what we wanted to present today is the fact that there are so many issues related to supply chain management, related to the form of suppliers, the demand suppliers relationship, the possibility of diversification of what is the product, the distance between the supplier and the demand. I mean, many different factors that will lead to different solutions, and solutions that can be synergic, complementary, that could be developed in a sequence. And so today, this is why we have 7 speakers, because we want to. So here are 4. And you have the names on your card, so I will not read them aloud for you. And the idea is that each of them will present a different solution. And Gillian will tell you the methodology we have decided to use. And it's really to enable us to initiate a conversation about the diversity of solutions and why certain solutions are good in certain moments and not in others, and how they can work together. Now, these 7 are just 7. At a certain point, I had a long list of solutions, and Gillian says, stop, that's it. I think 7 is enough. We only have 2 hours. But the idea is really about the fact that there is not one silver bullet solution for the challenges posed by supply chain management. So now, I leave it to Gillian to explain how the session will be conducted. I thank you very much for coming, and I hope you're going to enjoy the next 2 hours.
Great. Thank you very much. Perfect. Thank you, Julia. So my name is Gillian Martin-Mears. I'm going to be facilitating this session. And indeed, you have a card. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. The session is basically divided into 3 parts. So the first part is this introduction and context setting. The second part are going to be those 7 ignites. And I'm going to tell you more about the methodology that we use to actually present these 7 different cases. After you hear the inputs, we're going to have a discussion. You're going to have the chance to talk to the speakers, to ask questions, but we're also going to give you a little bit of work to do at that point, which is why you've got these listening cards. We're not going to be doing that in plenary, because often when you have a big group in a plenary session, only a few people get to talk and speak. We really want everyone to have the chance to talk, to ask questions, to give us your ideas. So what we're going to do after the speakers is we're going to actually break up into not specific groups. You can choose how you would like to do it, but we're going to invite our speakers to go to one of the stations, and each one is titled with their particular topic and the number that you have on your listening card. And so they're going to go to those stations, and you're going to have the chance to then go to them, talk to them, ask them questions, give you the ideas. So we'll have an open space of about 25 minutes where we'll get to have those conversations. At the end of that, we're going to sit down again for the last part, and we're going to hear from the 7 speakers again, just to give us a flavor of some of the conversations that they had with you and some of the ideas. As we go through, you're going to be listening for some things. Obviously, you have your own interest in what the speakers are saying, so you're going to be thinking about your own different areas of interest and expertise. We're also going to ask you to listen across them for what you hear are some of the strengths in these approaches, and what you think from your experience might be some of the improvements that they could consider. And we're all interested in your ideas about what you think about these approaches in terms of what's working and what could potentially be different to make them even more robust. So that's what I'll remind you of that when we get to that piece of the discussion. I just want to let you know about how we're going to be running the session. Before we start, I just want to do a little bit of mapping. So we've got about, 40, 50 people in the room. We might get some more people in. But I'd like to invite you to stand up if you work for most of your time with a conservation organization or an NGO. Could you please stand up so we can see how many people we have with us from conservation organizations and NGOs? Okay, great, thank you, welcome. About 10 people or so. If you work for a business for most of the time, could you please stand up to those colleagues who are working with business? All right, great, thank you. So if you work for the government or with the government for most of your work time, or do we have any people here who are public sector government? No? One. Okay, thank you. What about for the media, including bloggers? So you can be both a blogger and a business person, but do we have anybody here who comes from that sector? I'm a blogger, so I'm standing up already, but nobody else. Okay. What about people with some experience in supply chain management? Would you stand up if you feel as though you've got some experience in this supply? So a little bit of, you can kind of half stand up, you have a little bit of experience. Do you stand up if you've got some, do you see some people? So we've got our speakers here, we've got a couple of other people. Okay, all right, great. If you look around you, how many of you, and this time you can just raise your hand, know all of the people who are sitting around you, beside you and behind you? Look around you. If you know all of those people, could you raise your hand? No? Nobody? Okay. Could you please just quickly introduce yourself to the people around you so that you know who you're sitting by? Just very quickly. Just tell them who you are, why you're here, just for a couple of minutes. Okay, so you see that you've got some very interesting people sitting around you. And that sound that you heard of everyone talking is also what it's going to sound like when we get to the discussion part of our program today. So, what we're going to go to next are a series of ignites. So I would ask you, have any of you ever heard or given an ignite? Heard of or given Mariana, you did it for us. So ignites are very interesting. So another type of ignite is called a pechacucha. So maybe some of you have heard of a pechacucha, but ignite is even faster. So our speakers, because we have 7 speakers, and that's quite a lot, and you need to get a very good sense of what they're doing, but they're not trying to give you everything about their topic in only 5 minutes, because they only have 5 minutes each. And an ignite is a very special format for giving a presentation. So they have 20 PowerPoint slides, and they're auto-timed at 15 seconds each. So the slides are going to go every 15 seconds, and they're going to be telling their story, keeping up with their slides. So at the end of 5 minutes, it will be the last slide. And they're very interesting ways of hearing quite a lot of information in a short time, but getting a very clean narrative. So, and for most of them, I think, if not all of them, it's the first time they're giving an ignite. So we'll appreciate very much the effort, because they take quite a lot of time to prepare. So they're very interesting presentation techniques, and should give you a good broad sense as well. So when in terms of spotting patterns, looking for different areas to improve, the strengths of these approaches, and also what you think could be improved, it should be a good way of introducing you to these different approaches. Now, just to let you know, you have a listening card, and I hope all of you have them on your seats. If you don't, there are some up here. I have some more. And in your card, you've actually got the names of all the speakers, the titles of their approaches, and a box to take some notes for strengths and areas of improvement, because we're not going to stop in between them. We're going to go through them. So this is a way for you to just track down some notes of what you're hearing as you go along. On the back of your listening card, you have some Post-it notes. So turn it over. Everybody should have a little block of Post-it notes. Exactly. Once we get to the discussion part, you can make some notes on your Post-it notes. We're going to invite you to actually put some Post-it notes. You don't have enough for all of them, but if you need extras, I'm happy to give you some more. But if you'd like to write down what you saw as some of the strengths or possible areas of improvements, you can note those down on the Post-it notes, and when we get to the discussion part, you can go ahead and post them up. And at the same time, you'll be able to go talk to the speaker, ask her or him some questions, engage in the discussion. And you can move around. So we have 25 minutes for the discussion afterwards. You might have a question about the Puma case. You might have a question for the case about the AAA of Nespresso. You really can go anywhere you like when you get to that discussion part. Okay? So are there any questions about how we're going to run this? So you've got a listening card to take some notes. You're about to hear 7 exciting ignites, and then we'll get into our discussion after that. Okay, so our first speaker. Julia's going to help get this up. We have Paolo Barone from Nespresso. He's going to be talking about
Julia, just so if I start now,
it starts.
Hi, I'm going to be talking to you about the AAA program, the Nespresso AAA Sustainable Quality Program, which is our coffee sourcing program that we have at Nespresso. Nespresso is a Swiss company. It belongs to the Nestle Group. And we are the reference in the portion coffee market. Okay, we participate in every level of our supply chain, and from farm to the cup. But basically, what we sell are these little capsules that you're seeing here with the finest coffee that you can find, and we call them Grand Crus. Each one of these Grand Crus, they have to taste every time the same. And one of the strategies to do that is to buy coffees always in the same regions from the same farmers every year, over and over. All right. In 2002, we started a big growth phase, and we knew that the coffees that we buy actually, they will become more and more difficult to find. So we decided to do something about it, and what we decided to do is to stabilize this production by making this production more sustainable. What is good about that is that it made total business sense, and this was the most compelling reason for a company to start sustainability program, especially 10 years ago. We invited Rainforest Alliance to create this program because of their expertise, because of their strong standard, and we put the farmer as the center of our interest, and we decided to do long-term relationships with these farmers. From the beginning, we had a broad approach, and we took in consideration 3 pillars: the quality, the sustainability, and the productivity. And everything that we do through these pillars should create value for the farmer and for the other participants in the supply chain. So the farmer, by improving his quality, by producing more quality, he can sell more coffee to Nespresso. So he gets more money, and to others as well. So processing, harvesting, drying the coffee are typical things that we work with farmers in the quality pillar. In the sustainability pillar, by implementing the same standards, the farmer, and creating an agroforestry system, the farmer starts to be an actor of conservation, the biodiversity, but also to providing a better working conditions for the workers of the farmer. Rainforest Alliance will visit the farms, verify the farms, and this process. And when a farm gets to a higher level of the process, he'll be able to get Rainforest Alliance certification. In the productivity part is where the farmer can most leverage to increase his income. So we work in agricultural best practices like renovation, pruning, but also farm management. The AAA program is about continuous improvement. Every year we assess a number of farms, we create action plans, we plan for investment, we give trainings, and Rainforest Alliance will come to do audits in the farms. All this work is done today by 200 agronomists all over the world. We are paying for the agronomists, but they are located through our partners. We do this work mostly through cooperatives, but also from coffee exporters. These guys, they are the most important people in the program, apart of the farmer, because they are having the daily contact with the farmer giving technical advice, collecting data, planning the action plans, giving training, and also following up the implementation of the program. Okay? Today we have 49, not 45,000 farmers in the program in 8 countries, and from these places we take today 65% of all the coffee that we buy, and next year it's going to be 80% that we're going for. It's important to know that AAA is all about smallholders. 95% of the farmers have less than 3 hectares. And through the program, they will have access to things that normally they don't, like investments, premiums, and technical assistance. It's also about partnerships. Every little thing that we do in the program is done through partnerships, like implementing, like auditing, like measuring impact, funding, and in research. And I brought 2 topics to discuss with you. I won't talk about a lot about measuring impact, because I think everybody here is confronted with some measuring impact, but I would like to talk about the second one, which is a generational problem, in which in one hand we have aging farmers that has to stay in the farm and work until the end of their lives because they don't have pension funds, and not leaving space for the younger generation to take over. And on the other hand, we have this younger generation that not always wants to be coffee farmers anymore. So in my last slides is exactly the points that I try to pass to you, so you get them recorded, and I thank you very much for them.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, terrific example of an Ignite and a company-driven program, which was our first one. So the second Ignite is looking at third-party certification, and we have Mohammed Rafiq from the Rainforest Alliance.
Thank you. I hope I remember my lesson as well as my colleague did from Nespresso. I'm going to talk about Rainforest Alliance and the agricultural work, and within that, taking the example of tea industry and how we have sought to mainstream biodiversity in that. Rainforest Alliance, established in 1987, seeks to conserve biodiversity and ensure sustainable livelihoods by transforming land use practices, business practices, and consumer behavior. In 25 years of our existence this year, we have come a long way. And much of this has been possible with the excellent people we have in our team. It's a true privilege to be working with that team. We are organized in 5 different programs. One of them is about sustainable agriculture. We follow a value chain approach to our mission, where we engage along the full supply chain, starting with technical assistance with producers, and then working with the trade, and eventually with the market. And we believe that it is essential if biodiversity has to be integrated across all the full supply chain. The Sustainable Agriculture Program is one of the longest, and as I said, we have come a very long way. We particularly have grown over the past few years very significantly. One of the major planks of delivering sustainability is through certification. Much of our work is in tea, cocoa, and coffee. And the tea and coffee work has gained momentum, particularly in the last year or 2, as you will see. It has also been made possible by this very valuable partnerships that we have with companies like Unilever, with Nespresso, AAA program, and many, many others to whom we owe a great debt of gratitude. In the tea, as you can see, in 1 year, we have grown 1,600% time. And it has been made possible by the commitment of the Unilever. One commitment saying we will source all our tea from Rainforest Alliance certified, and it has taken waves of action across 17 countries tea producing in the world. In the process, we have trained over 50,000 smallholders in Kenya for an average of less than a cup of coffee itself. Is it working? It's one thing for me to say it is, but there have been independent studies by very prestigious institutions saying that it is indeed working. Of course, there are many things we need to do better as well. One of them was a study of the KTDA Tika impact in Kenya, where the training program that we offered to farmers were found to be very significantly improving the knowledge base and action. Why it is attractive, what is making it is, I think that the base of it is the Rainforest Alliance Sustainable Network Standard, which is a very composite standard addressing all aspects of sustainability. The strength also comes from the credibility and the fact that the focus on biodiversity and no deforestation. It's rigorous. We do audits not because we make money from it, we do it because it's our mission. And we have backed it up by a very extensive training program which is now available online, and it has expanded our reach and as well as the efficacy of our training program. The credibility also comes from the rigor that we observe in the approval process when we do the